see you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm all rugged up because I'm so
You
cold.
look good.
Thank you.
So we can hug like that. We hug a little bit more intimate maybe than I did with Lindsay.
Because we're almost family.
We are.
We're about as close as you can be to family without being family.
Without being family, right?
Have you told them that?
I haven't.
You tell them.
No, I'll tell them. So I've decided how I'm going to say it.
Okay.
I came to Nashville, and I alluded to earlier, my pastor, Rick, told me, be Randy, and you're going to meet all these wonderful people. And one of the very first people I met was actually Rebecca's dad. And he made his way to the stage and said, hey, if there's anything we can do to help, we're so glad you're here. And he just made me feel so at home. But I had no idea who he was because his name was Smallbone. And I'm going, David Smallbone, great. And I said, well, what do you do? He said, I'm in the music business. And I said, okay, wonderful. And so sure enough, before very long, Rebecca, I meet, Smallbone, St. James, actually, as her stage name goes. And we instantly had a kindred spirit. And Rebecca, this is who she is. She comes up and says, I'd love to sing harmony sometimes with you if you'll lead worship. And I said, well, no, you lead worship and I'll sing harmonies. No, you take care of that. Let me just sing harmony. And so that happened quite a few times. And then we found ourselves on that very tragic day of 9/11, you and I and Michael W. Smith leading worship that night, really kind of in a surreal experience. And there are many more things that happened over the years, but she's always been the kind of girl, I'll just sing harmony on the worship team. And I say, that's awesome. And then little did we know that her brother, Ben, would come into our lives and meet my oldest daughter and fall in love. And they eventually married. And so that's why we're as
like
close.
Family.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful thing. And so we've become like family, but we've also, in the process of that, is we have both undergone some transition. We've had some heart-to-hearts about that, and so it's been a great friendship. And so all kinds of things are happening right now with you, Miss Rebecca St. James. And so I want to talk about those. And I think what we could do is we'll start backwards and then go forwards, okay? So I would love, one of the things that we've done with Mac Powell and Mark Lee and Mark Stewart and a bunch of the guys and a few of the girls, Kim Hill, and we talked about longevity in Christian music. And how long have you been in Christian music now? And I would love to know what you attribute that longevity. How have you been able, because we have a relatively young history as Christian musicians, where rock and roll, we have the Stones and we have these guys that are so old you worry if they're going to break when they rock. And so, but here we have this newfound history that I treasure. And so you are much a part of that. So could you speak to that a little bit? How has this longevity happened?
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody just told me yesterday I did 21 interviews because I have a new album coming out in April, and I don't think I've ever done that many interviews. It was like nearly 10 hours straight, but somebody made a comment yesterday, so you've been in Christian music like 20 years now, and it's not really that long in my mind because I think it's like 17. My first album came out in 94, so but I did an album in Australia too that this very thorough DJ happened to know about that I recorded when I was 13, and it was terrible and I was pitchy and I hate listening to it, but so it is a long time, 17, 20 years to be doing kind of the same kind of thing and other things branching out of that. But a few of the things that I see God's protection in ministry is my family has been very involved in what I do, and even Paige, my wonderful sister-in-law, your daughter, just her being involved in Recreate, and just the fact that you guys work together as a family is so beautiful. I love that. My dad is my manager. Two of my brothers have sung background vocals for me for a long time. My brother was my first lighting director. Initially my family was the crew. And I think having that sense of, normality and home on the road has just been so soothing to the soul. I literally think if my dad wasn't my manager, if my family wasn't involved, I probably would have lasted in Christian music maybe 2 years at the most. Like, it's just too hard being, especially a woman in ministry, not to underplay my sex, but we're the nurturing kind of relational need to nest kind of types. And so to be adventuring out on the road and like traveling and constant readjustment is challenging. But when you bring home with you, it's soothing. And so that's helped a lot. I also have a wonderful mentor who has been my mentor for 7 or 8 years now. She was in Christian music 30 years ago. She was kind of Amy Grant before Amy Grant. Evie is her name. And I mean, we had her albums in Australia, like at my house. And so she was a household name, but just a wonderful woman of God. And so I've really been able to like hear from her on, you know, how she kind of kept that love for Jesus, even with the challenges of travel and being in the spotlight and all of that. So just kind of going to her and going, help me with this, I'm struggling with this, pray for me, what did you do in this situation? So powerful and so beautiful. So community, encouragement from mentoring, family, that's been a massive part of just the 17 years.
Yeah, and what a treasure to have Evie. And I just did a blog about searching for female mentors, and hundreds of young ladies were saying they are unable to find someone. And so for you to find her is such a treasure. So let's talk about this new album. And I've got to tell you, we haven't talked about that much because she was at my house at Halloween, but we were talking life, not business. And one of the guys I just had lunch with your label, he is so pumped. He was just raving about one song in particular. And so I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about this album and what it's all about and a new label and all kinds of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's just a beautiful new season of ministry. And I've kind of been probably for the last 4 or 5 years, just in this time of exploring a lot of different avenues of ministry. I moved to California to San Diego initially and then Los Angeles 2.5 years ago, and was feeling God on top of still being involved with music, was calling me to faith and family films. And so I've been kind of doing films, 5 or 6 different films over the last few years, as well as continuing to write and travel some and write books. So there's been lots of things going on, but no studio album for 5 years. So last year I met with Mark Miller, who produced Casting Crowns, and he's just an amazing man of God. And we sat down at lunch with my dad, the 3 of us, and he just said, you know, I'm praying that if I can be a good steward of your ministry, that God will give us the green light to work together. And I just, the peace that brought me to know that he is a man of prayer and is really wanting to see God's hand in this ministry connection, whew, right there, it was just like, I trust this guy. So we started working together, recorded the album end of last year, and it's just been a beautiful journey. Probably the song that means the most to me on the project is a song called You Make Everything Beautiful. And it is about God beautifying us from the inside out. And all you guys are probably going, beautifying, whatever. It's more probably, that part of the song is more oriented to women. But a lot of women struggle with, self-image and beauty, and it's something I've wrestled with. And so just knowing that God calls us to submit to him so that he can beautify us from the inside out and not just focus on outer appearance. But then also the song is also about letting God redeem our pain. All of us go through challenging times in life, but when we give our pain to him, he can make something beautiful out of it and bring beauty from ashes. And so he makes everything beautiful in his time. So it's a song about redemption too. And the album is a worship album, but it's also very topical. Every song kind of has a theme, but just very vertical in nature.
Now, when does that release?
Beginning of April 5th.
Okay, great. And so, a few weeks ago, text messages started flying. And so I popped one myself to congratulate Miss Rebecca. And so you want to tell us a little about this new announcement?
Yes, I was excited for you to get to this part. So it's super cool just looking at this journey of the last few years, because it's like God moved me from Australia to the US, Nashville to LA, to meet my future husband as a part of that plan, a big part of that plan. And his name's Jacob, and we met actually through a philosophy group in LA. And he is just an awesome man of God. Used to be a missionary in South Africa for a couple of years, worked in film in Los Angeles, is now involved in music. And just have seen God's hand all over our relationship. It's the most beautiful thing, being in love and loving somebody. I never wanted to tell a man that I loved him until I knew I was going to marry him, and so he's the first man I've said I love you to. Wow. Wow. So I mean, outside of family or that kind of thing, but so he proposed on Christmas Day in the snow at my parents' farm, and super romantic. Like, it was just, he gave us the most beautiful story, and so we're planning our wedding. So it's happening end of April. So not only is my new album coming out beginning of April, but we're getting married and launching into that wonderful new season of marriage the end of April. So please pray. There's a lot going on right now and a lot to do, and it's a beautiful, beautiful season.
I got to meet him at Halloween. He seems such a great guy. He was a little dressed up, so I don't know if I'll recognize him.
He was dressed up as an old man. We dressed up as old people, and we put wigs on, and so we actually got to foresee how we would look when we're 70, which was kind of cool.
They look pretty good, I gotta say.
He looked good. Yeah. He was a hot old man.
The older I get, the better you guys were looking. I'll tell you that. Okay. So give us insight. Since I'm family, I'm gonna indulge this one. Okay. I really loved how he prepared the walk up to the woods. Would you tell us about that?
Oh yeah, please. Okay. You're letting me be a girl and gush about details. This is great. So he went above and beyond the call of duty. If any of you guys are single, do stuff like this, because your fiance will be super impressed. Not only did he ask my dad for my hand in marriage, but he also asked my best friend, my mentor, and my closest brother for their blessing as well. So he got all their blessings, and he was working on something. It was a complete surprise, the engagement proposal was for me, because I knew he was preparing something, but it was Christmas, so I thought, oh, he's just doing some special Christmas surprise. But like on Christmas Day, he was like, I think we should go for a walk. So we walked up the back, and it was there was candles all out. So it was actually super, super late on Christmas Eve, so it was like 2 a.m. or something like that, because we'd all stayed up watching It's a Wonderful Life. So it was Christmas Day technically, but it was still night. So he'd put candles all up in this clearing, with like right next to the trees, a little Christmas tree with presents under it, a little fire that he'd built for us, and he'd put a log right next to it, and he had this whole elaborate plan, like 3 stages, and he got down on his knee and asked me, and he said, you're the woman I thought never existed, and because he told me all these things that he loved about me, and told me he loved me for the first time, and proposed, and I said yes. And so just a beautiful, beautiful time, so honoring to me. He's a man of integrity, a man that's been committed to the same values that I have, and it's just beautiful to find somebody that is definitely God's man for me. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Good. So, and I got to say, he stepped up to the plate, because Ben, before him, set some pretty high standards there on that romantic thing with my daughter. It was pretty cool. So these guys, they know how to do romance. And so, can we do a question or two?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have a question?
They weren't prepared, Randy.
Oh no, well, I'm going to give them a second. I'm going to do this whether it's illegal or not.
Okay.
I am in love with, and see, I can't call him except Cubby.
Yeah, you can call him.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in love with Cubby, Jacob. I know him as Cubby. I'm in love with Cubby's band.
Oh, they're amazing.
Paige showed it to me. I downloaded it, and I cannot quit listening to it. So do you mind telling us, the EP is available on iTunes, right? And the name of the band is?
Foster the People.
Oh.
Yeah, really good stuff.
I recommend it. They are very talented.
You know them already? Wow, you're up with it. It just came out a couple weeks ago, their EP. So
I Twittered it too.
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty in love with that.
They're
the song,
amazing.
the
Pumped Up Kicks.
the hit Waiting to Happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's on the rock station in LA and San Diego, San Francisco, and they're all Christian guys in the band, but they're doing a mainstream thing, signed to Columbia. Favor of God all over them. The album hasn't even come out yet, and they're doing their first tour in Australia this week. Oh. So it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's in Australia.
Yeah, I'm meeting him down there on Valentine's Day.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Anybody? Yes.
Foster the people, which is pretty cool because, foster means affirm, encourage, encourage the people.
I love it. I love it.
Thank
I just
you.
keep listening to it. Yeah. Question. We got time for a question or two.
They're all so quiet. They're in some kind of like...
It's that afternoon.
Yeah, coma.
Afternoon. Yep. Yes, please, John.
Thank you. Yeah. Definitely some years in my life of just going, Lord, please, I pray that I am waiting for someone. I have a song called Wait For Me that I wrote for my future husband, and, I've talked about purity and marriage for, my entire ministry. So definitely lonely times of just going, Lord, how long am I going to wait, and am I waiting indefinitely? Like, do you have someone for me? And I really felt at a certain point in my singleness, God called me to take my hands off of that dream and really abandon it to him and trust him that even if he didn't bring someone, I would still trust him and trust his heart and his love for me. And that was very hard. It was like a grieving time of letting go. But I just think something that he really, needed me to do. Definitely lonely times, but one thing that has helped is I've been very, very busy in my single years. So it's, it kind of keeps me distracted from going, where is this dude? But, I've said to people now, I would wait for Cubby, I would wait for Jacob, all over again. If I had my time again, I would still wait for him because he's worth it. So he truly knows how to cherish me. He's a strong enough man that can truly cherish a woman. I believe it takes real strength for a man to do that. And that's what let my heart fall in love, was that he cherished me and does. Thanks for the question. Thank you.
It's a great thing, yeah. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you, and in just every way. And I was just reminiscing, Rebecca, I think it was 9 or 10 years ago that you came to Recreate when we were just beginning. Yeah, at the Marriott. And so here we are, 9 or 10 years, and look what God's doing in all of our lives. It's a neat thing. So thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks a lot. See you later.